explain to us why STEM education is important to the sector you're representing. Let us begin the conversation with Ma'am Bernadette.
Okay.
Okay, hello. Of course, STEM education is very important in the Department of Education. First and foremost, because as you all know, one of the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, the goal number 4, is sustain quality and inclusive education, and that falls under the Department of Education. And we also have the ambition natin 2040 of the government, wherein we are saying that the Philippines shall be a country where all citizens are free from hunger and poverty, have equal opportunities, enabled by fair and just society that is governed with order and unity. A nation where families live together, thriving in vibrant, culturally diverse and resilient communities. So all of this, we are preparing our kids into this ambition. And we all know that we are now in the 4th Industrial Revolution. We have been talking in the Philippines about the fire, preparation for the 4th Industrial Revolution, but as you all know, in other countries are already talking about the 5th Industrial Revolution. So that is really a challenge for the Department of Education. And looking at this disruptive technologies and the changes in the workforce, we have to prepare our students for this. So we think that STEM is a very integral part for our students to be prepared in the future.
All right, so we've heard from the perspective of the Department of Education. This time, let's hear from the civil society organization. Let's begin with Terrence from UNILAB Foundation.
Thank you. So UNILAB Foundation is the corporate foundation of UNILAB. We understand that UNILAB is focused on and values very much the importance of science and innovation. So UNILAB Foundation believes that business and industry should play an active role in contributing to nation building. So I'd like to highlight 3 things. First, by strengthening STEM education, by providing work-based opportunities to build up STEM careers in partnership with education institutions. Second, nurturing the next generation of scientists and technically trained personnel to ensure a workforce that is ready for Industry 4.0, as Ma'am mentioned just now, Industry 5.0. And of course, very important, third, is to rally other businesses and other industries to participate so as to scale up the impact of STEM in the National Development Agenda. So all in all, what we see here is the importance of working together, collaborating with each other, and really defining specific, concrete things we can do together for STEM to really have a foothold and strengthen that foothold in the country and the impact on the country as well.
All right, now I understand that Pilipinas Shell Foundation helps uplift the lives of disadvantaged communities in the Philippines. Now, Sir Sebastian, tell us how or why STEM education is important to your sector and how STEM education could help build the future of these disadvantaged communities.
Okay. Good morning all. So of course, Pilipinas Shell Foundation, being the corporate social arm of the Shell companies in the Philippines, which is a global company that relies very heavily on STEM for all of its operations. We're a cutting-edge company in terms of the technologies that we use. And so it's very important for us to be able to nurture a pipeline of engineers and mathematicians, scientists, and everybody who can come up into the organization and provide assistance to our global technology company that we are. So what we have been doing actually even before the STEM Alliance has come forward is that Shell Global or Royal Dutch Shell has developed processes in place to be able to what we call STEM habits of mind. We're trying to nurture the kids in high school, starting at high school, to be able to already get into a habit of trying to think about STEM. And to do that, we have a program called Nexplorer. And in so doing, it's similar to the design thinking that's been shown, but the process that we've been doing is aiming to uplift the minds and thinking of high school students. We've done that already for this year in 25 high schools all over the Philippines. So 941 pupils have already been approached. And in so doing, where we wish to have at that particular point, try to get them to start thinking of STEM as a habit. Now, hopefully, with their being more attuned to it, when they start to have a choice of we call this tertiary education, they will go into a STEM career. We have also programs within Filipino Shell Foundation where we linked up with other groups like PhilDev, and so scholarship programs have been provided, which we provide for them to be able to get into STEM related, and then hopefully because of that they get into industry. So our full suite of offering is through that program. Thank you.
Thank you. Now let's have Janina from the Action for Economic Reforms. Education Reforms. Economic reforms. So your vision is a dynamic national economy characterized by sustainable development. How important is STEM education in your sector to achieve this vision?
Thank you. Action for Economic Reforms is an organization that works on macroeconomic and governance issues. So the main programs that we work on are fiscal policy, so that's where taxation and expenditure policy fall in. And industrial policy, which is a broad area, but where our involvement here is particularly on education, employment, and innovation policy and freedom of information. In terms of industrial policy, STEM is very important. The good news is that since 2012, the average quarterly growth rate of the industrial sector of the Philippines is around 7.23%. That's an average, right, since 2012. So there are quarters that we hit even 11%, right? And in the latest quarter, it's 5.63%, right? But so meaning that there's momentum for industrial growth. There's momentum for growth in the country. The not so good news is, you already mentioned it earlier, we're only halfway, or if we get the data from Senator Pam, only 70% of the way to achieving the minimum number of researchers and scientists per million population. We need 380. We're now at 270 only. So that's quite a bit away off, right? But at least it's an improvement from the 2013 level of 188, 89. But what does it mean? We don't want to be compared to other countries, but Filipinos like comparing. But so at least to jolt us again, this means that for every one Filipino scientist or researcher in R&D, Singapore has 24 more. They have 25. Right? But Singapore is Singapore. It's a first world country. Compared to Thailand, for every one, Thailand has 3.5 more, right? Malaysia has almost 8 more, and Vietnam has 1.5 more. Meaning, even compared to our closest neighbors, we're lagging behind. That's the challenge, right? That's the challenge. But there is momentum that is here, and I know that there's a lot of improvement in DepEd, and that investment in education has increased. But it's not the role of the education sector alone. There are 3 points we want to stress here. STEM is a critical issue or focus area because it's important for industrial and economic development. It's an integrated area. It's not just your high-tech, it's not just space travel. It's also what you can do in terms of everyday life, in agriculture, etc. It's a broad area where we talk about researchers and scientists, but we can also talk about middle-level skills, the technicians. You don't need to be doctors or PhD holders to be in STEM, right? Everyday things can be STEMified. And STEM is an area of collaboration. And by collaboration, we mean collaboration among government, industry, and the education sector. And here, again, good news is in the Philippines, the government is in fact one of the biggest investors in research and development. Bigger even than the business investment in research and development. I don't know whether that's good because we need business to be investing more in R&D as well, but it just goes to show that at least government is way up there. And then finally, the linkage. It's not just these sectors that you want to link, but you want to link industry, the education sector with community so that the things that they're doing resonate with them and, really result to some economic activity and some practical things that are built from the ground up.
Thank you. Now this time, let's listen from the educator's perspective, Dr. Monterola. Do you think in what way that, or how important STEM education can meet the demands of the Philippine labor market?
I think I've said plenty enough earlier, but let me just put it this way, that we have a long way to go because right now we have the STEM education program articulated at senior high school, but they're doing it as early as pre-K elsewhere, and we have to do that too. Because STEM awareness it doesn't start just in high school. It should be built as early as possible. So it's never too early to start nurturing the STEM awareness. Because research would say that for every 1 point higher in STEM identity, there's 85% probability of a student choosing a STEM career. If we build it up now, if we nurture their STEM awareness as early as now, then chances are we can overtake Malaysia later on, and that just gets 60-40 and probably higher. So, and basically what we want to do right now is to get everybody's support as much as possible. It's not just the science and mathematics per people. It's not just the businesses which are STEM related, but everybody should invest in STEM education because it's really the way to go. Bill Gates, for example, has already said this decades and decades ago, that for us to thrive, it's science, mathematics, engineering skills. So basically, some of the intuitive components of what STEM is.
Now, personally, as a science teacher from DepEd, I personally see STEM education very important, especially in educating the communities on systems perspectives. Now, that makes me very excited to hear from our teacher speaker, Robert.
Good morning. Our fellow panelists here have stated the importance of STEM education in nation building. So if STEM education will be delivered effectively to our students in a fun way, of course they will learn and it can make them designers or innovators. And this can translate to their researches which are community-based. And possibly more and more students will take STEM careers in college. So I guess STEM education is important in our sector.
All right, so that's the perspective of a teacher. Now, how about you, Manelli, our grade 11 STEM learner? So my question is, why did you take STEM as a career, and how do you find STEM, and why is it important to you?
Hello po, good morning. So I often hear po sa mga batchmates ko that they are scared of STEM, they are not fascinated with STEM because it has a lot of specialized subjects na may seem difficult for them. And so for me, I chose STEM because maybe I wanted to pursue a career in medicine po. I wanted to be a nephrologist po. So with that, I think as students po, we need to be knowledgeable po sa mga kayang i-apply or kayang gawin ng STEM sa future purposes po. And not only be knowledgeable but also know how to apply yung mga pinag-aralan namin, like hands-on lessons, minds-on lessons. And so with that, we can solve real life problems po as students. And para po sa akin, since marami pong not really fascinated with STEM, I think for those people, they need to realize that STEM is an integral part of their lives because our world depends on STEM. Basically, because in our general well-being po, we have a background of science, technology, engineering, mathematics po. And so, as a student, I can advocate for STEM by being able to utilize my chosen expertise po. Thank you.
All right, well said, Minelli. Now, on November 21 to 24, STEM champions from the government, industry, academia, and the larger community will gather to share current situations and existing initiatives that focus on integrated STEM. So my next question is, what are the current situations or existing initiatives focused on integrated STEM in your sector or organization that aim to advance STEM education and prepare today's students for the workforce of the future? Let's start from Terrence.
Melvin, thanks for that. So, as mentioned earlier, UNILAB Foundation has several flagship programs, one of which is STEM plus PH, which is focused on strengthening STEM education in the country. So, a while ago I mentioned that it's very important for business and industry to come together to find concrete ways by which to advance STEM education. And of course, UNILAB Foundation is very grateful for partners such as Sir Shell for the leadership that these various organizations provide. So in the case of UNILAB Foundation, it's important for me to share that to advance STEM education, you really need collaboration with education institutions. So just to share a little bit on that, UNILAB Foundation has partnered with UNILAB's Research and Development Group that enabled 12 students from the public educational system, including science high schools, to gain a technical internship experience. So this is a continuing program. So we will continue this internship experience among public school students each year. And we feel it's an important way to bridge that gap so that more students will be interested in pursuing STEM careers. But apart from that, UNILAB Foundation has also partnered with UNILAB's Manufacturing Group and Amherst Laboratories to develop the teaching factory concept, of which teacher immersion is an integral part of that program. So basically, you're enabling public school teachers, especially those teaching science, exposure to technologies and industries that could be applied to the classroom setting. So thus far, 33 public school science teachers in Region 4A have already been part of that program, and we anticipate that this will continue to grow. And just to end now, before we pass on the mic to others, UNILAB Foundation has also partnered with industry, other companies, in enabling STEM career talks in public schools and state universities. So in a nutshell, these are some of the things we've been trying to do to push forward the conversation on how important STEM and STEM careers would be. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Let's hear it from the Philippine Shell Foundation. Filipinas Shell Foundation.
Okay. Aside from the Explorers topic that I mentioned a while ago, there's also a few areas where we provide direct contribution, like the Shell Field Dev Scholarship Program. So we've tied up with another organization, Field Dev, and so far we have graduated 96 students, summa cum laude, magna, 36 cum laude, and we're providing currently 78 others on STEM scholarships. So we partner with various organizations to be able to maximize the output. Aside from that, the Shell also has a way of further encouraging bright ideas to come out, and we call it the Bright Ideas Challenge. So we started this last year, and what's happened is that it's a competition which involves the youngsters, grades 7 to 12. Ages 12 to 18, using their creativity, just like what Doc did a while ago for us. And the kids who win this Bright Idea Challenge can receive up to 1 million pesos in terms of a package for science technology for STEM sort of type of activity or prize. So you see, we have direct ways of trying to contribute in this particular area. Of course, we're only one company. We have a limited scope around it. So what we're doing now is we're here. We're showing our face in terms of supporting the STEM Alliance, in supporting the other organizations that are here to bring STEM forward, and by being an example of, yes, these can be done. And there are mechanisms. It's not really that difficult. You just have to put your minds onto it. And we're infinitely very lucky, of course, where we have a very big global company like Shell with such technological expertise behind us in doing it. So our commitment is very direct in this particular case, and at the same time very collaborative, because we would like to be a part of the bigger group that uplifts STEM in the country. Thank you.
Okay, let's hear it from Ma'am Janina.
Well, unlike UNILAB Foundation and Filipina Shell Foundation, AER is a much smaller organization. We basically deal with economic research, analysis, and advocacy, as well as facilitation and linkages. In terms of the research, analysis, and advocacy, we try to incorporate, the general framework is industrial policy and the role of STEM in there. So, and STEM is even within the employment, education, and innovation policy. So it's making all those links. In terms of policy, we work with the Department of Trade and Industry and the Department of Finance to incorporate the R&D component in the now being discussed fiscal incentives rationalization. In terms of the broader linkages, we work with state universities and colleges. At the moment, only in Region 8 for now, to link industrial policy and sustainable energy in their research, development, and extension agenda. The thing is, we have, it is very important to put STEM or industrial policy beyond a notional thing, right? It has to be something that's alive. So if it's in the RDE agenda, that means it's not only the agenda or their program, but also linking them with industry, local government, and community, so that the research, development, and extension work that is being done by SUCs actually makes sense for communities, LGUs, and industry. Now, this is not this is no mean challenge. This is very difficult. Like SUCs collaborating with others, or the others collaborating among themselves. That's actually a challenge, and that's one of our biggest advocacies for that mindset of collaboration to be cultivated, because the challenge is so big, the problem is so big that no one sector, no one institution, no one entity will be able to solve everything, right? And so that's what we hope to do. It's to promote industrial policy thinking, strategic thinking, and within that is STEM and general collaborative education and learning.
Okay, so let's hear it from System.
What we've been doing basically is to do integrated STEM activities in the spirit of collaboration and cooperation. So for example, we have a grant on developing curricular innovations for kindergarten till grade 2, introducing STEM literacy, and then the useful literacy, and then numeracy. So we're developing modules for kinders until grade 2, understanding body processes in relation to the environment, but embedding STEM literacy and numeracy. So the end goal of that project is to develop a set of curricular standards so that we will actually submit to the Department of Education. So just in case the Department of Education would say that we are ready to explore kinder to grade 2 and do STEM or science, because the formal science curriculum in the Philippines starts at grade 3. So we don't have kinder to grade 2. So just in case we're ready with that, so the project will end next year, and then right after that, of course, after some refinement, we'll submit it to the Department of Education. We also have an innovation-focused curriculum going on in Sorsogon, involving all the schools offering STEM in Sorsogon. But there, the program is STEAM innovation. The A there is agriculture because of the context of Sorsogon. So developing technology-driven agricultural solutions to target, to motivate students to choose STEM in agriculture. They think that because the conventional notion is that agriculture is a poor man's job, it's not something that's related to technology, but there are ways that it can be turned around. So the upcoming activity there, so we had STEM talk for parents, educating them about the importance of STEM. And then we also had teacher capacity building on design thinking. we have introduced the year-long innovation curriculum that they are trying on now. And then this coming December, there's going to be an Arduino training because the other projects are Arduino based, so that's the technology component. And then there's going to be a hackathon for the students. So that's for Sorsogon. And then this coming Friday, actually my collaborators are here, so it's the same set of people helping one another. So Bernadette of DepEd, and then Sir Sebastian said yes already, and Mama Joy Chavez. So we're putting up a GIE, Government Industry Education Forum, about nurturing and advancing the Philippine STEM pipeline. But this time, the audience, we're gathering 100 STEM-related professional associations. So like, for example, Philippine Association of Chemists, pharmacists, microbiologists, and so on. So we're trying to let them know about the landscape of STEM education in the Philippines, and then coming from industry partners, from civil society organizations, and from the different government agencies, from their perspectives, how can the education and training initiatives of these professional associations be informed such that they will cater, they will actually nurture the Philippine STEM pipeline. So these are our forthcoming activities. Thank you.
So we've heard a lot of programs from the civil society organization, and this time is for DepEd. Ma'am Bernadette, I learned that for school year 2018-2019, there are 1.9 million students enrolled in senior high school, and only 300,000 are taking STEM. What are some of the steps of DepEd, or what are some of the current initiatives to increase the number of enrollees taking STEM?
Yes, sir. Actually, that is really a challenge from DepEd to promote STEM to all our students, to make STEM be more attractive for our students. So actually, we are in continuous pursuit of creating a better STEM education for our students. First, we start from elementary. So we start promoting STEM to our elementary students by having science elementary schools, special science elementary schools. Actually, we have 606 science elementary schools in the country. Then we have 70 science high schools. Then we have 669 STE, that's science, technology, engineering schools in the country. Actually, Rizal High School is one of the STE high schools of DepEd. Okay, so to make STEM more attractive, actually we are trying to have a clear and coherent framework for the curriculum of the STEM strand in grades 11 to 12. We are conducting curriculum review. Actually, we started curriculum review since last year, and it's set to continue until next year. And included in our curriculum review actually is also we have a partnership with SISTEM. It's included in our conduct of the curriculum review as well, wherein we are looking into the innovation-focused curriculum that they are pilot testing in Sorsogon. Okay, and also we are trying to look into the possible integration of STEM and TVL, because that is quite a challenge right now for our students in the TVL to enter STEM. Well, actually, the TVL students are really aligned with STEM. For example, the what do you call this? Electrical. There is electrical technology in TVL. They are very well aligned to enter electronics engineering. The ICT students in TVL, they are very well aligned to enter computer science. But they find it difficult to enter engineering or other STEM-related courses because the soft skills, the subjects for engineering, preparation for engineering is in STEM. So, and actually, 2 weeks ago, we conducted a consultative meeting with the DESDA, with HEIs, with our former TVL students who are now in STEM-related courses. And astonishingly, HEIs admitted it to us that they find it hard to accept TVL students in engineering because they do not have the calculus subjects. and they need to maintain the quality, quote unquote, quality of their products because they have they have to maintain their top position in the engineering licensure examinations. So as early as accepting them from freshmen, there is really very few students from TVL going to STEM, even though they have the hard skills. They are very skillful individuals. But as they have said, we are not preparing these kids to be technicians. We are preparing them to be engineers. So they really need them to be really good in mathematics, in physics, in the sciences. So that's what we're looking into, and as well we are looking into the integration of STEM and the agriculture. That's what we're also doing in Sorsogon. And we are also looking into putting in design thinking in the curriculum. Actually, we have partnered with Nanyang Polytechnic International and Temasek Foundation, where we will be sending 165 DepEd teachers and personnel, decision makers, policy makers to Singapore for them to be able to be trained on design thinking, so that when they come back, we're going to put design thinking in our curriculum. Okay, so these are some of the initiatives that we are doing as well.